Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Spiritual Transformer. My name is Randy Koo, and I'll be your host for today. Just want to quickly say thank you very much for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be doing more of a rant than anything else. Just off the cuff stuff, not too much rehearsal, definitely no script. And I just want to talk about, I want to talk about the stuff I talk about in this channel. So I started doing YouTube end of July, so it's only been a couple months, 3 months, right? And I talk about a lot of weird stuff. I'll just put it out there. I talk about E.T.s. I talk about higher dimensional beings. I even talk about things like politics, where it should focus on love, peace, and compassion. I mean, I talk about some really crazy stuff, and I encourage everybody to look over my past videos and just see what kind of crazy stuff I really do talk about. And I guess maybe a lot of people are thinking, well, because when I talk about these crazy things, I don't justify them. I don't really say why these things are true or why I believe them. I just do. I speak as if I am speaking the truth. That's how I've always worked, right? But maybe now it's time to get into why I do think the kind of things I talk about are true, even if they do sound crazy. So, yeah, I talk about E.T.s, higher dimensional being, how we're all beings of love and light. Talk about forgiveness. I talk about apologies. So why talk about all these weird things so openly, and why believe them in the first place? Especially since I never have direct experience with ETs or higher dimensional beings, really. So why? Well, it's just because I want to expand myself. So I find that believing in and talking about all these strange and wonderful things, they have a tendency to magnify my imagination. They broaden my imagination, they broaden my horizon, they raise my perspective, and I guess in a nutshell, they expand my consciousness. So, what does that mean, even? Expanding consciousness? Well, I think anything you do expands consciousness. If you read a book and you learn something, you've just expanded. If you've gone through a particularly terrible time or a particularly happy time and you learn something from that, that's expanding. I think so long as you live life day to day, more or less consciously, and you are internalizing things consciously, you are expanding your consciousness. So why aren't I happy with just everyday consciousness expansion? Well, I am happy with everyday consciousness expansion. But I'm kind of greedy. I want more. So that's why I turn to topics of ETs and topics of higher dimensional beings and topics of who we are. We are basically God. We are pieces of divine souls, and that's why that's why I believe. And it's all so I can raise my consciousness, so I can rise above things. Now, why is that? Why do I think that's so important? Well, because this world, if you really dive into what's going on in this world, I think a lot of people will come away saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe what's happening. It's crazy. I don't want to be here anymore." And that is totally understandable. If I let myself get that deep into it, I will think the exact same thing. And there have been periods of time when I do. So, like I've been alive for many decades now, and for something like 20 years or so, I've read a lot of books, like, and most of them nothing but nonfiction books, right? All real stuff. And the stuff I learned is alarming. It's, oh man, I read everything from finance to books on food and health and books on, I guess, how politics, the way I read a lot of books about how the way things work. Some of them are positive, but a lot of them are very negative. And if you know, if you know all that stuff, I'm not even talking about conspiracy theories. I'm just talking about everyday stuff that goes on. That's really black. That's really dark. If a lot of people knew the way I knew, I think a lot of people would be mad. And I think a lot of people are starting to know, and that's why a lot of people are mad. And that's what's happening in the world. We're very divided in this world. Very polarized, right? And I'm going to be honest, I'm not really interested in living in such a world, which is where the expansion of consciousness comes into play. So there are a lot of brave souls out there who, they become doctors or lawyers or politicians, and they have all the best intentions in the world. They want to dive right into the system, wherever they happen to be, and they want to change it from the inside, because God knows things need changing, right? And there are these people out there who want to make real lasting changes. They want to make it so that we have a fair justice system, or they want to break income inequality, or they just want to have better bloody politics, all that good stuff. And they dive in, they're brave souls that dive in, and they work within the system to try to change it from the inside. I think it's heroic, don't get me wrong, but I am no longer convinced that will work. Because the systems everywhere, from education to finance, politics, business, everywhere is just, to me it feels like it's being corrupted, very corrupted. And I don't think you need to read too many books or dive into too many conspiracy theories to see it happening. We see it all the time. Just turn on the news and you see it everywhere, all the time. And I no longer believe that the world can change by playing with the system. And that's why these days I kind of refuse to engage with the system. I no longer believe in the system. Which is why I turn to things that are not so worldly, not so earthy. Even though I am obviously a human living on this planet, I like to exercise my imagination a little bit more than that. So I turn to higher dimensional beings. I turn to E.T.s and hear what they have to say. So the obvious question is, how the heck do I know what they're saying? I've never met them. Never even seen them. Well, I know what they say because they told me. Not through me directly, but through channelers. Plenty of channelers on YouTube if you want to look at it. They wrote plenty of books if that's the way you prefer. I like a mix of both. I read and I watch videos. And there are plenty of channelers out there who claim that they are able to channel E.T.s and higher dimensional beings, sometimes both, for the same person, and it's pretty wild, right? So if you ask me, how the heck do I know what E.T.s say or higher dimensional beings say? Well, I say, because they told me. Through another person, sure, but they still told me exactly what it is that they want to say to us. And a lot of them are trying to remind us of who we are, right? A lot of them are trying to teach us their wisdom. They want to say that humanity, we have been living in fear for too long, and it's time to rise above that and rise toward things like more love, more peace, more compassion. Try to embody the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. They teach all that stuff, all that good stuff. And it is good stuff, right? I'm now reading a book, right? And I don't really want to put up on a screen or anything because I'm just in rant mode, not fact mode. I'm not sure even if I have a fact mode, but when I'm in rant mode, I just want to rant. So I'm reading a book right now. And I take it or leave it. And this book actually says, like, touches a bit on what various ET cultures are like. So the Arcturians or the Pleiadians, etc. I find that absolutely fascinating. And if there are books out there like that, then you could find out. You can find out how ETs live if you really wanted to. And it's fascinating because it's so out there. The way these folks live, completely different than the way we live here on Earth. And I think that's a massive expansion of consciousness, just to be aware of the possibility. If it's possible for other people on other planets to break out of the cycle of war, income inequality, suffering, all that stuff, then so can we. Breaking out of the cycle, we need more imagination. We need more expansion. We need to think outside the box. And I can think of no box bigger than thinking outside of the whole planet itself, you know what I mean? So that's why I do it. That's why I read these works. That's why I watch these videos. That's why I listen to the channelings. And that's why I believe. Because believing lets me go beyond. Lets me go beyond what I see around me. Because if I stay with only what's around me without anything to raise me higher, I would go crazy. And that's why. That's why I like expanding my consciousness. That's why I like raising my imagination. That's why I like being aware of otherworldly things. Because they break me from this cycle. They break me from this chain of Earth. Sometimes it really feels like I'm being chained, but the more I dive into spirituality, the more I'm starting to take my power back. So I feel a lot less chained, right? But I'm still not quite 100% broken of the chains of being on Earth. And yeah, all the more important to just keep raising my awareness, keep that imagination going, and keep spreading the message, right? Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, sure, you know exactly what these E.T.s are higher dimensional beings say. Okay, sure. What if the channelers are not real? What if they're lying? What if all these materials are completely 100% fake? Right? That's the big question. To which I say, I don't care. Because it's all about, so what if they're fake? Right? It's all about the imagination anyway. It's all about the message. If I read about how aliens live, right, from a supposed channeler, and it's fascinating, and it just clicks on so many levels, and it sounds wise, and it sounds something like we can learn from, then who the heck cares if it's fake? I mean, isn't that why we watch Star Trek? Isn't that why we watch, works of fantasy, works of science fiction, right? To expand our imagination, to see what's possible. Isn't that why we watch movies and read novels? I mean, it's really the exact same thing. Except, unlike movies and novels, some of these messages are claimed to be real. So if I want a dash of realism with my science fiction fantasy, I go to channel messages, because that's as far out as I can get. So yeah, I'm not gonna, prove or try to disprove any of these things I say or read or whatever. I'm just gonna believe it, because I really don't care if they are wrong, or if I'm wrong, or not. The purpose of the Spiritual Transformer channel, a lot of it is really just to activate that higher imagination. At least that's what I try to do. I mean, that's why one of my previous videos was about, political party based on love. I mean, that's wild, right? And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to engage with my audience here, and I just want to activate their imagination the same way my consciousness has been expanded because of the works of other people that I've read or listened to or watched. Right? So I want to do the exact same thing. I want to pass it on. And you could believe me or not, it doesn't matter. You could think I'm a liar. It doesn't matter. Just like how I don't think it matters if any of these works, any of these writers and video makers are lying to me, right? So long as I get that kick of imagination, so long as I get that awareness, that expansion, it really doesn't matter whether it's fake or real. But if you really want to determine what's real or fake for yourself, I think meditation is a good way to do it. Just close your eyes, go within, try to feel for the subject matter, and try to feel whether or not something is right or wrong. I mean, there's no really such thing as right or wrong. I mean, if you adopt something for yourself and it works for you, then that's your truth. That's your world. That's your creation, right? And it's not about right or wrong. It's just about what works for you, what lifts you up, and what doesn't. And you choose the things that you want to see. You choose who you want to be. And that said, I think if we focus entirely on this earth, on this 3D plane, you will miss out on maybe some really good imagination activations, right? So, yeah, that's why I do it. I want to be able to imagine a better world. I want to be able to believe in it, to live it, to embody it, to be the change of this world that I want to see. And I want to change myself in order to reflect that. I want to create a whole new world for myself and for all the people who live on Earth. And this is the way I've decided to do it. And yeah, I think I'm approaching the end of my rant. It's almost 20 minutes now since I started talking, and if you've stuck around for this long, then thank you very much. And if you've stuck around for this long, please drop a like and subscribe, because I'm horrible at promoting myself. So yeah, this might be my most raw video yet, but I just had to get it out there. I feel I was inspired to make this video, and I think I did a pretty good job expressing myself this time. So, once again, you've been watching the Spiritual Transformer channel. My name is Randy Koo, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.